Hi, it's Noisy Andrew, and I have a little story to tell about something that happened to me today. I was pulling out of the car park of some units, and as with a lot of units, there's not enough parking space. And there was a guy in a work van who was parked a couple of bays along, who was concerned that the people who own there might want their parking space. And he said to me, "Do you know if anybody uses this parking space?" And I said, "I think they probably do." And he said, "Well, look, I've left a note on my windscreen wiper so that if they come down and they need it, they can call me and I can move my car." He was a painter that was obviously working there. At which point, this voice from the distance came, "Hey, stop pissing around and get on with unloading." Obviously, his boss, upset that he's talking to someone rather than getting on with the job, despite the fact that, he's showing a bit of respect for someone else's space in the world for a few seconds. Anyway, I look up and the guy that's talking is like probably just post-boomer, and his work van is adorned with Conservative Party advertising for the local candidate. We're having a few elections here, a state election and a federal election, like within the next 6 months, basically. A bit longer for the federal election, possibly, I think. I'm not sure about that. Either way, the Conservative Party here, the party owned by the rich people, which has all the money, has been placarding everywhere, like, please vote for us. And I thought about this because the guy shouting at his worker dude was exactly how I view the, quintessential conservative. The person that wants everyone to respect them, but if you respect everyone, they call you woke or tease you for being too politically correct. Anyway, it prompted me to share this story with you because our current federal government, they're a bit spineless. And I'm concerned that people will vote for the opposition simply because they don't think they have another option. So I would just like to point out, if you decide to vote Conservative, I hate calling them Liberal, they're not. If they called themselves the Neoliberal Party, I would probably go with that. But they don't, they call themselves Liberal, and like the Japanese Liberal Party, they're basically right-wing, which is not how I or most of the world see Liberal. But if you did decide to vote for them, you would be voting for a party that believes corporations should pay less tax. So maybe you should have a look at that. So last time I looked, the major corporations in Australia did not pay much tax, well, as a percentage of their net earnings. Whereas, like, if you're a worker dude, like let's say the guy who was the painter, maybe he's earning $65,000 a year, which is about the median wage in Australia at the moment. He's paying effectively about 15% tax on what he earns. Whereas most corporations are paying about a third of that. And if you're in an international company, you're not even paying that because they're letting you take all your profits offshore before you tax them. And I don't see our Conservative Party changing that in a hurry. In fact, they bat for that sort of thing because that's their donors. And our Labor Party is too spineless to take them on anyway. And the other thing that worries me about this is the Conservative Party is riddled with Christianity. People that are authoritarian and judgmental, and quite recently, well actually historically recently everywhere, pretty damn violent. Now most of them are probably mild Christians. If you go through the various pages of their candidates, they will often talk about being a Christian. But some of the power base are actually fundamentalists, and trickle-down economics doesn't work, but trickle-down theory does. So those fundamentalists will steer those other people. And, we've seen what happened in the US. They are the most bigoted people you can imagine, a fundamentalist Christian, and we do not want them running our country. So what do? Well, quite clearly, find someone else to vote for. It doesn't matter who it is, but put both the major parties last. Make them work for your vote. It's very likely one of them will get in anyway because we have a preferential voting system here. So if the person you vote for isn't in the top percentile, your vote will trickle down voting. Your vote will trickle down to the next candidate and so on. until you are left with two candidates, one who wins and one who comes second, and your vote will be one of those people. So you are not wasting a vote. And importantly, the candidate that gets in, assuming they're not too egotistical, will look at all the data from the election and go, ooh, all these people voted here. Let's look at their policies because I'd like them to vote for me next time. And maybe there's some policies that I can adapt or take something from. But yes, I am fearful for Australia. We have seen what happens with populist conservatism in the US recently, and I don't want that to happen here. And I do not want to fund, taxpayer funding, mind you, nuclear power like our opposition is spruiking at the moment, because every scientific and engineering study that's been done on it shows it's incredibly expensive. And I'm not even worrying about the environmental or the danger of like nuclear accidents which have happened in the UK, a beauty in Russia, and a couple of good ones in the US as well. That's not something we need in Australia. And I do not trust either government, and definitely not corporations, to moderate their behaviour around the nuclear power environment for it to be very safe. So when you vote in the next election, whether it be state or federal, and I have to say, if you don't want to vote for the current federal government, I totally understand. They're spineless turds. The state Labor government, I think, is on a pass because it's done some pretty good work here, although it's failed in a few areas. Generally, I think it's passable. But the federal government, they should grow a spine. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Please enjoy the irony of my shirt. And next time I'll talk about something else.